Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, we have wrapped up my discussion on my favorite TV shows from 2024 and my favorite movies. So now I want to look back on the movies that I watched for the first time in 2024 that were not actually released in 2024. Sometimes this comes down to a classic that I just got to check out for the first time, and other times it's ones that were released, in a year or so prior, but I didn't get around to them during that year. So it's always fun to, watch the current stuff, but it's also fun to catch up on stuff too. So I always like discussing and looking back on some of my favorite watches from the previous year. So let's get ready. Let's jump in. So I have about 17 or so movies on this list that I wanted to share. I don't usually try to condense this down to like a top 10 or something just because I want to be a little more laid back with it and just share, these are my favorite movie experiences from the last year, of ones that, of varying different genres and release dates and stuff. So kicking things off, I watched Good Time for the first time. So this is one that I'd wanted to check out since seeing Uncut Gems. A good buddy of mine, Josiah, always recommends it to me as a really good one. So I finally had a chance to go and watch that one this past year and had a really great time with it. It's another in the kind of same style of Uncut Gems, where it's just this anxiety ridden, really heightened, just emotional experience of just this, you're just stressed out the whole time watching this movie. He's constantly making bad decisions, crazy things are happening, and you're like, dude, just do something right for a change. So it's just a, great movie experience because it really gets you into the situation and the things that he's dealing with and whatnot. So Robert Pattinson's the star in this one. He gives a really great performance, as I thought he was really great in it. You're torn because you're kind of rooting for him, but at the same time you're like, stop, man. So it's, like I said, very similar to kind of the Adam Sandler Uncut Gems type of role where you're just stressed out the whole time, but it makes for a really great experience and a good way to burn some calories as well with that stress. So Good Time was a really great watch. And then not after that, this isn't really in any particular order, but next we have the movie Paddington. This is one that is widely regarded as one of the most endearing, genuine, heartfelt, insert other, genuine adjective there, just all around good movie, liked by pretty much everyone, very universal praise around the first two Paddington movies here. So I checked out the first one, haven't had a chance to do two yet, but I actually watched Paddington twice this past year. I watched it myself. I thought it was really great. I loved it. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and give it a 5-star rating or whatever, but it was really great. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 or a 4 out of 5, however that would convert. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. Like I said, just very endearing, very heartfelt, genuine. There's low stakes in the movie, but it's just a feel good experience. And so the second time I watched it, got to check it out with my wife and my son. They enjoyed it as well. My son, for some reason, Connor's deciding he's kind of scared of the bear, even though I'm like, buddy, it's the nicest bear I've ever seen in my life. So I mean, he's a little hesitant at it, but hopefully it's one he'll kind of grow into as he gets a little bit older. So Paddington, really glad I went and checked this one out finally. And I need to check out 2 because 3 is around the corner too, and I've heard they're all great so far. So that one was a really enjoyable experience as well. Next we have Your Name. This was an anime film. So I watched Suzume from, I think it was 2022, and that one was released in 2023. So I finally had a chance to watch that one and then wanted to go back and watch more Makoto Shinkai movies. And so I checked out Your Name and thought it was just fantastic. It's one that I actually think I like more than Suzume. I've only seen it the one time. I've seen Suzume twice now, and I just watched Suzume again the other day. So I do need to give Your Name another watch soon. I'm waiting so I can show some friends. But it was a fantastic movie, amazing story, really interesting characters. It does some anime things that are kind of quirky, but at the same time, it's all done in such a good way that they really stick the landing with it. It's realistic in some ways. It's just way out there in other ways. It goes down a lot of really interesting routes. I don't want to spoil anything because there's a lot of really big twists and turns that are just like gut punch moments when you're in there watching the movie in the midst of everything. So just definitely one of my favorite movie experiences from this past year was watching this movie for the first time. It's absolutely stunning, gorgeous animation. Makoto Shinkai's movies are always breathtaking from an animation point of view, and this one definitely has a fantastic story as well that's just powerful, pretty much leaves you in tears by the end of it. It's very, very good. Then we have a few Korean movies here I wanted to talk about. We have Along with the Gods, so this is a two-parter. We have Along with the Gods, the Two Worlds, and then the follow-up to that is The Last 49 Days. So this is one I don't remember how it came about. I think a buddy of mine, a coworker, actually recommended these, and we were talking something about it, and he recommended them to me. So I went and I checked them out. I think they were streaming on Freevee or Pluto, maybe. That's where I checked them out, or Tubi. It was one of the free services, and I checked them out, and I was like, wow, like those were just a ton of fun. They're really cool, unique takes on kind of the fantasy genre. It follows this guy. Like, it's not a spoiler to say, I did a video on this one, so I'm going to be reiterating a few things. So I did a video review on him if you're interested, but it's not a spoiler to say he gets killed in the opening scene of the movie, and it's basically him going through the steps of the afterlife, and it's all kind of through the lens of like a Korean culture kind of thing. So it's just a really cool take on it all, the way they view kind of the underworld, the afterlife type thing. And it's all done in a really cool, really interesting story, fun, entertaining action sequences throughout. It's just a really cool take on that kind of a thing. So I really enjoyed that. And then I also watched The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil. This was recommended through another friend of mine. I believe it was Corey, so thank you, Corey, if I'm remembering correctly. I loved this one. I thought it was great. It was actually another one that I watched twice this past year. I watched it the first time myself, immediately went and bought it, and then showed it to some friends of mine not long after, and they really enjoyed it as well. So just a really cool, really tight Korean drama, crime thriller type thing. So just really cool crime drama elements to it. Like, it does some really cool things with that kind of a story where it's a gangster and a cop hunting down like a serial killer. Like, that's really cool and interesting just from a plot point of view. But then there's really cool, really exhilarating action fight combat sequences throughout. I just love the way foreign films do combat and fighting. It's so interesting and so unique. So I can always enjoy when something like that is done really well in a movie. Next, we have another animated film, and this one's actually an American release of TMNT Mutant Mayhem. This is one I did not have a chance to check out when it was back in theaters, but I really wanted to, so I was able to grab this one. I think it was on streaming with Amazon, but I actually ended up buying it, and I think the day it came in the mail was like the day Prime put it up on. So I was like, well, I mean, I've heard it's really good, so hopefully this is a good blind buy. And it really was. I thought the animation was fantastic. I loved the kind of innovative Spider-Verse type style it takes, but it also does enough different to really set itself apart. It's a more kind of hand-drawn, just like sketchbook kind of feel to it, whereas like Spider-Verse's comic leapt off the page, this is kind of like sketchbook leapt off the cage. So I really enjoyed it and thought it was really great. I definitely want to continue with the story. I think there's a follow-up TV show that's on Paramount that I'll have to check out at some point, and then, they're going to be doing sequels as well. So I really enjoyed it. Really cool new take on the Ninja Turtles. I'm still partial to the original 90s classics, those live-action ones there. Those are still my personal favorites, but I really loved the direction we're going on this one too. Next, we have an absolute classic that I checked out for the first time, and that is American Graffiti. So this was George Lucas's predecessor to the Star Wars series. So this one was a really fun one. I've had this one recommended to me a ton of times, and I did not expect it to be as immersive as it was. I just really feel like I was swept off my feet. I believe the movie takes place in the 60s. Hopefully I'm remembering that right, but it just kind of sweeps you off your feet, and it's just like a slice of life. Like, you're just following along with these high schoolers right around the time of their graduation. So, I mean, it has those coming of age elements to it. It takes place in such an interesting and intriguing, fun time period too, with American society. And it's just, the characters are so well written and portrayed that it just feels like you're hanging out with them. So it's really fun, really entertaining watch, one that I'm actually really itching to rewatch. So I went and I got the Blu-ray for it, the 4K, on the 3 for $33 sale on Amazon the other day. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that one again too. Next, we have another anime film, and that is A Silent Voice. This is one of the most powerful explorations of bullying that I've ever seen put to screen in a movie. I thought the way that it explores this, very touchy subject of bullying and the extent and the dangers of that, behavior was really well done throughout this movie. It tells a very powerful story about someone who bullies a girl when they're in grade school and then grows up and tries to make up for that and change his ways and kind of become friends with her throughout. So it just tells this amazing story. I'm pretty sure I was in tears by the end of this one. That's just very powerful, just kind of a redemption story that I just found really, really, really intriguing, really well written, really well performed throughout. I watch a dub usually for an anime stuff, but I really thought the performances were good too. And it's just one of those stories that you don't get to see those types of themes always explored in that kind of way. So I thought the movie was just did that into a really excellent level. Then next, shifting gears back to some action, we have Godzilla -1. This is one I did not have a chance to check out when it was in theaters because it's not one my wife would have necessarily been interested in. But when we did watch it, it was on Netflix, so I was able to kind of drag her into it, and she watched it. I somewhat unintentionally tricked her. She didn't realize we were going to be watching it in Japanese either, so she did end up liking the movie, but I loved it. It's probably my favorite Godzilla movie now. It's another one I just got not too long ago as a Christmas gift, and I'm itching to rewatch and show some friends of mine that haven't seen it as well. I just thought the way that they not only took this, over the top, just absurd kaiju level, threat of a movie and wrote this really powerful story into it was really well done. I thought it was just like, you're there for the action, you enjoy it for what it is, but the story is that through line that really keeps you invested throughout the whole thing. And that's one of the biggest shortcomings of the American Godzilla series, is just the weakness with the stories. So it was really refreshing to have such an impactful story, but also be able to enjoy the kaiju Godzilla type stuff in this one as well. So Godzilla -1 was definitely one of my favorite movies that I got to watch this past year. And then also on another one that was kind of a delay just because it wasn't available in the US, we have The Boy and the Heron. This was the latest Hayao Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movie, and I thought it was really great. It was one that I was, always interested in as I've been getting into Ghibli the past couple of years. And it was cool that it was just the first new Ghibli movie that I was going to get to check out relatively, soon from when it were released. So, I checked this out as soon as it came to the US. I think I streamed it on Max and then bought the Blu-ray as soon as it was available too. So I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. It's definitely one I need to revisit to, I think, better understand and better appreciate. It's a very complex, deep story to it all. There's a lot of different themes that are explored throughout. So it's a complex movie, so I'm not going to discredit the movie for that because I do want to revisit it to hopefully appreciate it more. So overall, though, just off of a first experience, I really thought it was great and I really enjoyed it. Then wrapping things up a little bit here, we're moving into the final few here, which is going to kick off with the Universal Monsters collection. So around Halloween this past year, I always try to check out some classics for the first time. And this time, I went very classic. This is about as classic as you can get when it comes to horror movies. So I checked out the original Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Invisible Man from like the 30s and the 40s. And these were really enjoyable. It was a really cool way to just step back in time through the history of filmmaking to nearly 100 years ago. Was really cool. I ended up coming out preferring the Invisible Man the most, which I did not expect. I thought I would lean mostly towards like Dracula and Frankenstein. I did enjoy all of them. I thought they were all very good, but Invisible Man, I was just blown away by the effects of the movie and this type of story that it told, where kind of the main protagonist is sort of the antagonist for the movie. So I thought that was just a really cool way to do that movie at such a time where that wasn't necessarily common in cinema. So I really enjoyed that. So I checked out a number of those, and I definitely want to check out some of this like subsequent sequels, like Bride of Frankenstein I've heard is really good. So I want to check out more of those. So I definitely got to put a list together of ones to check out this next coming Halloween as well. And then finally, the last anime movie on here as well, we have Spy Family Code White. This is another one I did not have a chance to check out, and was doing a US theatrical one, but was able to catch it once they dropped it on Crunchyroll, and I loved it. This is one of my favorite anime shows, probably. I just love the story, the characters, the world, the type of just dynamic it all has is really fun, and this movie is no different. It's not canon to the TV show, but it does connect in enough ways that you still feel invested in it for the story that it's telling, and I feel like it's another good entry-level way to check out the series if you're curious but don't want to commit to the show yet, because it gives you enough background without giving you all the details and getting you invested in the whole story, and it's just kind of like a standalone adventure for it. So I loved it. I thought it was really great. I can't wait for season 3 to be coming out, I think later this year, because it's definitely been one that I've really enjoyed. So that wraps up everything that I was most excited and most enjoyed checking out this past year that was not a 2024 release. I hope you enjoyed it. I kind of did a little bit of an experiment with this one of putting out a short version of the video and then this long form one here just to see kind of reception wise, how well each of those do. I've been experimenting with shorts lately, and I wanted to try something a little bit more unique where I put out basically the same video in a 3-minute format, and then what this one is, I think of like a 15-minute format, just to for curiosity. So let me know what you thought of that format down below as well, if you've checked out the short version of this list as well as this long form one here too. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.